So then guys, the successor to the Samsung Galaxy S24 ULTRA, well, the S25 ULTRA has been announced from Samsung. But how does this compare to the likes of, say, the iPhone 16 Pro Max from Apple? Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to do a review of specs, an initial review of specs of what we know about the Galaxy S25 ULTRA compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And if you are thinking of getting yourself a brand new iPhone or a brand new Samsung, well, you may want to listen to this ad very quickly. So then guys, just quickly, one app that we use a lot to communicate with, and that is with WhatsApp. But sometimes we get ourselves a brand new iPhone, so we might be evolving from an older iPhone to a new iPhone, but we've got all that chat history, all those pictures, all those videos that we don't want to lose when we want to transfer it over to our new iPhone. The great news is that is where Dr.Fone's WhatsApp transfer tool comes into play and is one of the best ever to get everything backed up from your old iPhone to your new iPhone. To back up all of your WhatsApp conversations and everything inside, it's really easy. You just need to connect up your old iPhone to your Mac or your PC and complete the backup sequence. And once it's complete, it's totally seamless that you've transferred from your old WhatsApp conversations on your old iPhone to your new iPhone. And the great news is this is also compatible with moving from, say, Android to an iPhone 2. And if you want to check out this WhatsApp transfer tool, well, you can do that right now by downloading Dr.Fone. And all the details about this are in the description below of this video. So check this out right now. So with that out of the way, let's get started then with the comparison. So what we have right here is we have the iPhone 16 Pro Max on the left and we've got the Galaxy S25 ULTRA on the right side. And let's get started then, first of all, with the display type. Now, both of these phones actually have a type of OLED display inside of them. So we've got the OLED XDR in the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but with the Galaxy S25 ULTRA, we have the dynamic AMOLED display. And personally, what I would actually be saying is what I've seen from, say, the S24 ULTRA is that I'd say Samsung actually probably just top it ever so slightly here with their display. But obviously, we're going to have to check this out on the S25 ULTRA to see if it's any better or any worse even. But we'll have to just check that out. So with that then, I would say that Samsung are a little bit more ahead here. But moving over though to the actual screen size, what's actually happened is that Samsung have also decided this time to increase their screen ever so slightly more and yet, make those bezels ever so slightly smaller. So because of that, they managed to match the iPhone 16 Pro Max in both now having a 6.9-inch display, which is absolutely amazing to see. But then, moving on from that, what about the actual screen resolution? Well, the iPhone 16 Pro Max comes in at a resolution of 2868 by 1320, and the Galaxy S25 ULTRA comes in at 3120 by 1440. And obviously that means the S25 ULTRA is ahead here, and what that actually means then, if we move to the pixels per inch, that the iPhone 16 Pro Max has 460 pixels per inch, or PPI, whereas the Galaxy S25 ULTRA actually has some more here at 505 pixels per inch. So it definitely means that the S25 ULTRA has a slightly more clearer kind of picture on the screen. But then moving over to the display refresh rate, well, both of them can go up to 120 Hz and both of them can go right down to 1 Hz. Apple call this the Pro Motion display, whereas the Samsung Galaxy S25, well, they call it the dynamic sort of display, and obviously, like I said, both can go up to 120 Hz. But one thing I would also say that is a big difference is to do with the actual screen brightness. So the iPhone 16 Pro Max can top out at 2000 nits of brightness, whereas the Galaxy S25 ULTRA can actually push that even further to 2600 nits. So definitely a brighter display. What you'd get on the S25 ULTRA, let's say if you're out in direct sunlight on a real bright day, the S25 ULTRA will be slightly brighter there. And then something else, what is different now is that the Galaxy S25 ULTRA has something called a Pro Scaler. Now, just in case you want to know what this means, is that say if you're watching a video at 720p on, say, your Galaxy S25 ULTRA, what it can actually do is using AI right there live for you, it can actually upscale that image by up to 43% to make it even more sharper using AI. Well, it's absolutely phenomenal to do, but obviously the iPhone 16 Pro Max does not have that ability whatsoever. So whatever you play at the resolution is what you will see on there. Now, obviously, I did give the example at 720p, but even at 1080p, it will try scaling this up on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So yeah, this is really, really interesting to see this from Samsung. But then moving over to the processor and the CPU, we've got two different kind of things going on here. So with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, obviously we've got that A18 Pro, what consists of a 6-core CPU and also a 6-core GPU. Now that 6-core CPU, obviously that consists of 4 efficiency cores and 2 performance cores. But then we've also got the brand new Snapdragon 8 Elite, and this has been customized to work with the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So this means that Qualcomm, who make the actual chip, and also Samsung have actually worked together to get even more out of the chip. And because of this, with everything, we do actually get an 8-core CPU inside of this time round. And what this is actually made up of is actually 6 efficiency cores and also 2 performance cores inside of this. We've also got the Adreno GPU too to make this work. And just in case you want to know what that means then, let's say in the initial sort of Geekbench 6, it means that the iPhone 16 Pro Max in single core performance comes out at 3,396, whereas the Galaxy S25 Ultra comes out at 3,178. So that's just a little bit behind there, not too much. But in multi-core performance, we get 8,407 with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, what is super impressive. That's almost like M1 performance, in MacBooks. And then, though, for the Snapdragon in the S25 Ultra, we're actually getting a multi-core score of 10,087. This is more like, say, the performance of an M2 MacBook Air. What's absolutely incredible to see inside of this phone. But then, moving over then to the actual RAM amounts, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, to make Apple Intelligence work, has 8GB of RAM, and Samsung this time have been safe and decided to give out 12GB of RAM inside of their sort of baseline version of the S25 Ultra. But then over to storage amounts, the good news is that the storage is exactly the same on both of these phones. It's 256, 512 and 1TB for both of them. There's no expansional storage or anything like that. But one thing I would say is that if you do pre-order an S25 Ultra at the time of making this video or a few days after, if you actually opt for the 256GB model, Samsung will upgrade you for free to 512GB of storage, what is quite incredible at the same price of 256GB. But we'll talk about price a little bit later on. Moving over though to operating system, obviously the iPhone 16 Pro Max, uses iOS 18, whereas the Galaxy S25 Ultra has its own skin called One UI 7, and obviously this is based on Android 15, but like I said, it's Samsung's own customization on top of that. And then moving over to operating system updates, on average, Apple don't actually announce how many years of updates they're going to give, but we have seen in the past that they kind of give around about 6 to 7 years of updates on obviously their previous models. And you won't get all the features in the latest iOS versions, but at least you're going to get the security updates and things like this. Whereas Samsung are now promising 7 years of updates and 7 years of new operating systems on top of this. So obviously on Android 15, so this will take us all the way to say Android 22, if it's going to be even called that in the future. So this is quite impressive to see. But then for battery life, for you guys wanting to know what's going on here, well, the iPhone 16 Pro Max promises that if you did video streaming over Wi-Fi, not playing it locally, but over Wi-Fi itself, that you could get up to 29 hours. Whereas with the same situation, so this is video streaming over Wi-Fi, not playing it locally on the phone, they're promising up to 31 hours. So this is definitely more. So we're going to have to wait and see, obviously, to do some other kind of comparisons to actually work out in different scenarios which one is going to be ahead of the game here. With the S24 Ultra, it was very close to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So, if we do have those better efficiencies now inside of the chip, now with the Snapdragon Elite, then obviously, yeah, this could be very, very impressive to see on the S25 Ultra. But then for the actual battery sizes, well, the iPhone 16 Pro Max comes with a 4,685 milliamp battery, whereas the S25 Ultra comes with a 5,000 milliamp battery. And then for wired and wireless speeds, Both of them can do USB-C wired speeds up to 45 watts on both of them, but for wireless speeds, generally speaking, they are 15 watts on both of these, except for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. If you actually buy the official MagSafe, the second generation MagSafe charger from Apple only, then you can go up to 25 watts. Otherwise, it's up to 15 watts instead. But then moving over to the actual weight of these devices, the iPhone 16 Pro Max comes in at 227 grams, whereas the Galaxy S25 Ultra comes in a little bit lighter there, around about 9 grams lighter at 280 grams. But to be honest, you won't really feel the difference there, that 218 grams compared to the 227, but it's good to know that obviously S25 Ultra is a tiny bit lighter. For water resistance, they're both IP68, so this means that obviously you can dunk them into a clean water up to around about 6 meters and up to about 30 minutes before any kind of big damage happens like that. But obviously if you did chuck it in the sea or something like this, obviously you're going to get a different scenario out of that. But then for the actual ports on this, there's only one port on both of these phones, and that is USB-C on this. But what we are getting with the iPhone 16 Pro Max is we're getting USB 3 speeds, and we're also getting USB 3 speeds on the Galaxy S25 Ultra too. So this is really, really great to see. For actual stereo speakers, both of them have two stereo speakers, one at the top, one at the bottom, so there's no differences there. And then for artificial intelligence wise, both of them do have this. Now the iPhone 16 Pro Max has Apple Intelligence, and it's been a phased rollout. We're getting drips and drabs of AI abilities. But Samsung with the Galaxy AI are giving you everything out of the box, or practically everything out of the box. You know, day one, you'll be able to use Galaxy AI. You won't have to wait for multiple updates over the next coming months to make this work. And this is really, really a big gain, I think, for Samsung here, that they've managed to do that. And it's a bit disappointing to see that Apple can't, you know, totally roll out everything on day one. So yeah, there's your difference there with artificial intelligence. But moving over to Bluetooth technology, the great news is that both run on the latest. So this is Bluetooth 5.3, and the same for Wi-Fi connectivity. Both of them run on Wi-Fi 7, so that's really great news to hear too. Then moving over then to the rear cameras, and this is where we have a bit of a different setup for both of them, and they have their advantages and disadvantages. Now, what we have with the iPhone 16 Pro Max is a 48 megapixel wide, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and the 12 megapixel 5x telephoto zoom capability. Now, I'm just going to switch over to the S25 Ultra, which actually has a quad lens setup. We have a 200 megapixel wide camera, and then we have the 50 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto, and then another 50 megapixel 5x telephoto. So this means then when you're doing your zoom capabilities from 3x to up to 4.9, it will be using that 3x that 10 megapixel sort of camera lens there instead there. But what is interesting to see here is the iPhone 16 Pro Max only has a digital zoom capability of 25 times digital zoom, whereas what like Samsung have done for many years now, they can provide a digital zoom up to 100 times. So yeah, that is an option there if you do want to use that. Again, different advantages for both of these phones. Obviously, with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, you can actually record 4K video at 120 frames per second, whereas the Galaxy S25 Ultra, its party trick is that you can actually record 8K video at 60 frames per second. So the choice is yours there in what you want to actually have. But moving over to the actual selfie camera at the very front, both of them are very similar here. Both of them have a 12 megapixel camera. Obviously, you've got one in the actual sort of dynamic island there in the iPhone 16 Pro Max with that kind of Face ID kind of sensors and everything living in there. Whereas with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, you've just got the single camera, a little hole punch in the top, and that's what you have there. But then for the ultimate question, what about the price? Well, the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the good news about it, like its predecessors for a good number of years now for the Max, the price actually haven't increased for, say, that second tier of storage. So this is normally like the 256 gigabyte model here, and it stayed at $1,199 US, whereas the S25 Ultra for the base model with 256 gigabytes is starting at $1,299 US. But do remember, like I said earlier in the the video, right now, Samsung are actually saying that if you actually pre-order an S25 Ultra and will be for the next few weeks, that you'll be automatically upgraded to 512 gigabytes of storage instead of the baseline 256 gigabytes, and that's if you order it from their website. So just be aware of that. You'll be getting the 512 gigabyte for that $1,299 US price. But then after that then, what smartphone model will you be buying? So with that, on paper, I would say the S25 Ultra does look very promising this year. I think there's loads of features that I haven't even talked about. For example, like the nighttime photography and nighttime video, what they're promising that's going to be even better this time round. And also, I do want to test out things like the battery life to see what the difference is between both of these phones, because I think it's going to be that the S25 Ultra personally might be able to beat out the iPhone 16 Pro Max, which will be quite interesting to see. And also, I think another big win, obviously, is that with the S25 Ultra, is obviously we're going to get all those AI abilities on day one, where they're still slowly rolling out on the iPhone 16 models and even the 15 Pros, and they've been rolling them out since, you know, around about like October time last year, whereas we get them all on day one. And then finally, I think one other big advantage what I didn't talk about is obviously, like the S24 Ultra, we will also get the stylus too on that. So obviously, if you do love that, it's something what's really, really cool that we are getting inside the S25 Ultra. But let me know what your initial thoughts are on the S25 Ultra. Do you think it's going to absolutely storm and beat the iPhone 16 Pro Max? Or do you think the iPhone 16 Pro Max is still the king? Let me know in the comments below. And like I said, guys, I'm going to be making lots of reviews for both these phones coming up very soon. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. And also, if you've enjoyed watching this video too, please do press the like button. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.